Welcome, viewers. This incident took place on March 28, 2013. Varkha Rani, a 24-year-old from Punjab, and Jasveer, a 29-year-old living in England, who was originally born in Punjab, got married in a grand ceremony with the consent of their parents. The wedding was attended by a total of 700 guests. Jasveer was working at the Royal Bank of Scotland in England. Just a few days after the wedding, his office called him back to work. However, at that time, Varkha had not yet received her visa for England. As a result, Jasveer left for England alone, while Varkha stayed back in India. During this time, Varkha applied for her visa and waited eagerly. Just as she had hoped, 5 months later, in August 2013, she finally received her visa. On August 10, 2013, Varkha traveled to England. Upon her arrival, Jasveer took her to visit famous tourist attractions in England and took good care of her. However, things took a shocking turn. On September 12th, Jasveer filed a complaint with the police stating that his wife had gone missing. So, what exactly happened to Varkha, who had come to England with dreams of a happy married life? This case not only involved the police, but also took an unexpected and shocking turn that left everyone stunned. In today's video, we will decode a shocking and mysterious case. You're watching and I am your host, Shakar. Let's move ahead with today's story. After filing the complaint, Jasveer called both his parents and Varkha's parents to inform them about the situation. He began feeling distressed, but his parents comforted him, saying, "Don't worry, she might have gone somewhere and will return soon." It was now around 11 p.m. Jasveer's neighbors noticed a burnt corpse-like smell in the air, but they did not react, assuming it was coming from the cremation ground nearby, where bodies were often burned. Believing it to be normal, they ignored it. However, the situation remained normal only for a few minutes. Shortly after, they discovered the shocking truth. As it turned out, no body had been burned at the cremation ground that night. So, if no body was burned there, where was that smell coming from? And not just that, but the smell. They also started feeling uncomfortable. So to find out where the smell was coming from, they stepped outside and began checking the surroundings. That's when they realized that the odor was coming from Jasveer's house. They immediately went to his house and asked, "What are you burning so late at night? This smell is very different and strange." Jasveer replied that he had cleaned his garden that day and was burning waste from there, which was causing the smell. However, since there was a cremation ground near the neighbors' houses, they could distinguish between the smell of burning trash and the smell of a burning body. They suspected that it was undoubtedly the smell of a burning corpse. Still, at that moment, they did not question Jasveer further and returned to their homes to sleep. However, the next morning on September 13th around 6 a.m., the neighbors again noticed the smell of something burning coming from Jasveer's house. But this time the smell was much stronger and unbearable. Although they were not entirely sure what was happening, they felt something was wrong. So they immediately called the police and reported the matter. Within minutes, the police arrived at Jasveer's house and asked him what he was burning. Jasveer repeated the same explanation he had given his neighbors, claiming he was only burning trash. The police then asked if they could inspect it. Jasveer hesitated, but eventually said there was nothing significant, just some trash. However, the police insisted on checking for themselves to confirm what was actually being burned. When they looked in the garden, they saw a fire with burning debris. They decided to open an incinerator to examine its contents. The moment they opened the lid, they were shocked. Inside, they did not find wood or regular waste. Instead, they saw burnt flesh and an entire skeleton. The skeleton was curled up in a fetal position, resembling the shape of an infant. Seeing this, the police immediately arrested Jasveer and called the forensic team to the crime scene. Since the body was completely burned, with only bones remaining, the forensic team could not determine at that moment whether it belonged to a man or a woman. But as you all might have guessed, this was none other than Jasveer's missing wife, Varkha. The body was found, and after that, the police immediately started interrogating Jasveer. During questioning, Jasveer confessed that he had killed Varkha. He also revealed the reason behind the murder. As I mentioned earlier, when Varkha came to England after marriage, The couple traveled to many places and started living a happy life. However, at some point, Jasveer discovered the real reason why Varsha had married him. Varsha was a girl who wanted to live a free and unrestricted life, but she couldn't do so while living with her parents. As she was thinking of a way to gain her freedom, she realized that marrying Jasveer would connect her family to him. When she found out that Jasveer worked in England, she thought that marrying him would allow her to move there and live an independent life. So, she agreed to the marriage with this plan in mind. After the wedding, Varsha bluntly told Jasveer, "I married you only to come to England. I have no interest in a married life." Jasveer was shocked to hear this. But that wasn't all. Varsha further stated, "Now that I have reached England as I planned, I no longer need you. I want a divorce immediately." Jasveer refused to accept her demand. This led to frequent arguments between them. On the morning of September 12, 2013, they had another fight over the divorce, as they often did. Jasveer once again refused to grant the divorce, which escalated their argument. In a fit of rage, Varsha started hitting Jasveer. Suddenly, Jasveer also lost control in anger. Overcome with fury, he picked up a vacuum cleaner pipe lying nearby and strangled Varsha. Due to suffocation, she died on the spot. When Jasveer calmed down, he realized what he had done. Fear gripped him. He broke into a sweat, his hands and feet trembled. He felt as if his life was over and that the police would arrest him. But then he thought that if no one found out, the police wouldn't catch him. Determined to cover up the murder, his first thought was to secretly dispose of Varsha's body. While thinking of ways to do so, he remembered the garden's waste-burning machine. He planned to burn her body along with the garbage so that no one would suspect anything. However, he knew that if he did it while everyone was awake, the smell might alert the neighbors. So, he decided to do it late at night when everyone was asleep. To make it seem like Varsha was not at home that night, he also went to the nearby police station and filed a missing person report. After returning home, he followed his plan. Once the neighbors were asleep, he took Varsha's body to the incinerator. The police later realized that some parts of Jasveer's statement were true, while others were lies. When they questioned the neighbors about Varsha, it was stated that Varsha was a very good girl. Within just a few days of arriving here, she became very close to us. We knew how deeply attached she was to Jasveer. Looking at her, it never seemed like she would marry just for a visa. We cannot believe that she, being so affectionate, could do something like this. In our opinion, there is no question of Varsha doing such a thing. Now, the police recalled that the forensic team had recovered an iPad from their house. When the police analyzed the iPad and questioned Jasveer's friends, they uncovered a strange truth about him. I will tell you about this truth later. When these two things came to light, the police could not accept Jasveer's stated motive for the murder. They felt that Jasveer was hiding something. With many questions in mind, the police changed their approach to the investigation. At this point, unable to hide the truth any longer, Jasveer confessed to what really happened with Varsha that day. This story begins 15 years ago when Jasveer was 14 years old. As a teenager, all of his school friends used to look at girls and talk about them. However, Jasveer never felt the same emotions as other boys his age. He thought that maybe, in a few days, he would start feeling the same way, so he did not take it seriously at that time. But even after his teenage years passed, he still did not experience those emotions. That was when Jasveer realized a bitter truth about himself. He was gay. He was afraid of how his parents would react if they found out, so he kept it a secret from them. Since he was gay, he was attracted to men. However, because homosexuality is not widely accepted in our society, he suppressed his desires. Later, he learned that gay culture is normal in foreign countries. After discovering this, he decided that he would move abroad and live the life of his dreams. As planned, after completing his studies, he got a job in England and settled there. After that, he became a member of a gay club and entered into a relationship. He was living his dream life. But around the same time, his parents in India started discussing his marriage. Jasveer refused repeatedly, but after a certain point, he could no longer withstand his family's pressure. He finally agreed to the marriage and unwillingly returned to India. Even though he had no interest in women, he liked Varsha and married her. As we saw earlier, after the wedding, he returned to England, and 5 months later, Varsha also moved there. From the outside, it appeared that they were a happy couple, but in reality, they were not happy. Even though they were married, Justice, being gay, did not feel any physical attraction toward Varsha. In a newlywed couple, physical intimacy is natural, but there was none between them. Initially, Varsha ignored it, but after some time, when nothing changed, she began to see it as a problem. Whenever she tried to talk about it, Justice avoided the conversation. On September 12th, by accident, Varsha saw Justice's iPad. On it, she found an intimate video of him with another man. In that moment, she realized that Justice was gay. When she confronted him about it, he admitted the truth. Hearing this, she became extremely angry and accused him of ruining her life. She immediately demanded a divorce and threatened to tell both families about the truth. Although Justice was ready to divorce her, he was afraid that if the truth came out, people would look down on him. He repeatedly pleaded with Varsha not to reveal it, but she was adamant about telling everyone. That was when Justice thought that the only solution was to eliminate her. As we saw earlier, he strangled her to death using a vacuum cleaner pipe. This was how he confessed his crime. The case eventually reached the court, and after Justice's confession, he was sentenced to 21 years in prison without the possibility of parole for murder and attempting to cover it up. In reality, Justice could have resolved this issue easily without complicating things so much. He was already living his dream life in England, where he could have lived freely without worrying about people in India. Even if he had agreed to marriage due to family pressure, once Varsha found out the truth and asked for a divorce, he could have taken that as an opportunity to live his life as he wished. But what he considered dishonor was serving a prison sentence for murder, not a greater dishonor. Before making any decision, you should always prioritize your happiness and well-being over what others think. If Justice had done so, he would have been living his life openly as a gay man today, and Varsha would have been happy in her own life too. This is my take on the case. So, my dear viewers, what are your thoughts on gay culture? We cannot change it because it is natural. Do you think we should accept it, or do you believe it is an influence of Western culture harming our society? Share your opinions in the comments below. Also, let us know what case or topic you would like to see next. The best comment will be featured in the next video. I will see you in the next video. Thank you.